last year.
I always like to hear, I was like,
Oh, and he's back. Wow.
I was trying to find the thing from last year.
Also, I have this like ongoing issue. Issue is a strong word, but there's a guy in Boca whose name is Josh Brody.
Oh.
We spell it totally differently, and I don't. Growing up, I kind of felt like I was only. When I heard about another one, I was insulted. Like, really? Is somebody else? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Brody is a Jewish name.
No. Brody's definitely not.
that's what I'm saying. Josh Brody seems like a common name, just not a Jewish common name.
I had a friend in law school who was certain, no matter what I told him, that I converted and I was Catholic.
You're like,
I kind of move a little bit. Oh no, yeah, I'm about as Jewish. Yeah, no, totally.
Josh, we have a congregant who's Jonathan Brody, whose son's name is Josh.
Oh.
So every time we have conversations, well, it was named after you, even though we never met you.
Right.
You're so dangerous.
This is what I make with my students. They're pretty. No, it's a joke. It's ironic. I'm the job in that school. Yeah. Yeah, that's why it's funny. The kids are like. I'm a sucker.
We're good to go? Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
This is always my favorite time of these conventions because it means, regardless at the end, it means I can finally stop eating.
Amen.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. But I can't. This morning I came downstairs and I was certain, coffee and that's it. Next thing I know, I'm standing on line waiting for an omelet. I've got pancakes in one hand. I got my son holding a third plate for me, just because the pizza I ate 6 hours ago has finally digested and it's time to move on. I happen to love. I'm sure I'm not the only person in this room who just loves coming to a Shabbaton like this. It's just something that is so, right? It's amazing. It's so enjoyable, and if you actually think about it, it's a little bit hard to understand or drill down a little bit specifically on what it is that we really enjoy about it. So obviously there's the food, which, of course, as time goes on, it gets less and less enjoyable, but you can't stop eating anyways. There's it's great, interesting classes for the most part, except for this one. And there's people. The people part of it is what I find most interesting, because coming to a Shabbaton like this and being with other Jews who have a very, very different background than I do. I mean, I grew up in the Midwest, been Orthodox my whole life. There's different pieces of our own backgrounds that everyone in this room, I forget the entire convention, something different about each and every one of us. And when you have the opportunity to connect with another Jew that you might not have otherwise connected with, there's something about that just, and it's a little bit strange. Like last night, at the Havdalah service, so I'm dancing and with some guys I know, some guys I don't know. If they weren't wearing their name tags, I wouldn't know their name. We're hugging each other. We all need showers. It's something that but it's enjoyable. It's like it feels great, right? It's not really so easy to explain. We've talked a lot over the course of Shabbos about we're all brothers and sisters, we're all family. But even so, that's a nice idea, but in terms of the actual truth of the matter, we don't know each other. It's all just we're meeting people for the first time. Some folks we won't see until maybe next year at the convention. So explaining why we feel that immediate connection as a matter of just pure logic is not quite so straightforward. But we all know we feel it. Can't explain it. I can't necessarily put it into words and describe it, but I know it's true. And I think that there's actually a very deep spiritual explanation for why it's true. And even if we can't necessarily put it totally into words, why we can feel it. One point in the Torah, Hashem tells Moshe to count the Jewish people. Now, the Torah has a couple of words that it will typically use for counting. One word is pakad. Another word is moneh. The word minyan, we daven with a minyan, literally means number, But Hashem does not use that word when he tells Moshe to count the Jewish people. He uses a word, naso. Now, naso is an interesting choice of a word. Naso literally comes from the root meaning to lift up. And there's a couple of different lessons that Hashem was telling Moshe for us to understand about ourselves as Jews. If you're counting something, most of the time that you're counting something, you're doing it because you want to know the total. Let's say you're counting pennies. And my son has one of these big like pretzel jugs that he's been filling up with pennies. It's funny, when he wants to know how many are in it, I don't know what he thought of this. He stands on the bathroom scale holding it, then he puts it down, gets back on, and he now knows how much this thing weighs. It doesn't tell him how many pennies are in it, how much it's worth, but okay. So you don't really care about the individual pennies. All you're doing is counting because you want to know the total. Even like dollar bills, right? Nobody cares about each individual dollar bill. You just care about the total. When you're counting diamonds, however, totally different experience. You're not just flipping through them trying to see how many diamonds you have. You're taking every one. You're looking at it. You want to know the color, the cut, the size, the clarity, because every one on its own is incredibly important. Hashem was telling Moshe, when you count the Jewish people, every single Jew is a diamond. Every single Jew has something unique about him or her that is different than every other Jew. And you can't just count them and kind of run through it and see, this tribe is this many, this tribe is this many. You need to look at each Jew individually. Rabbi Barnett mentioned Friday night this idea, we tried to develop a little more, of a jigsaw puzzle. But imagine for a second a little bit of a different type of example. You have a picture of a king made up of mosaic tiles. So with every single tile together makes up the picture. But if you're missing one tile, the picture's not complete and something's off. And it doesn't even matter where on the picture it is. It could be in the bottom corner, it could be smack in the middle. You'll notice right away if a tile's missing. As Jews, our job in this world is to be Hashem's ambassadors. We talk about the idea of being a light unto the nations. We make up a picture of Hashem in this world. Each one of us is holding up a tile. A more modern example might be if you're at a football stadium and you see, I haven't actually ever seen this, maybe it's, they don't really do it, but one side of the stadium, everyone's given a tile and they hold it up and you can see from the other side a picture of something. So every one of us as Jews individually has a tile to hold up. Right? Your job is hold your tile. Because if you're not holding up your tile, the picture's not complete. And it tells you a little bit about the awesome power of every single individual Jew. The fact that if you're not holding your tile, the picture of Hashem is not complete. That's a pretty awesome responsibility and awesome power that each one of us has. Hold your tile. But there's actually another part of it, interestingly, which is in terms of how we connect with each other. Because I can hold my tile, but if the person next to me isn't holding it, the picture's incomplete. So when we're with other Jews, even Jews we've never met before and may never see again, and we're each holding our tile, we connect on a spiritual level. Because whether we even realize it or not, what's happening is we're creating something. We're making that picture of Hashem complete. And we're doing it together. And so by standing with Jews you never met, you feel something because of what you're accomplishing. And of course, the mosaic tile example doesn't quite do justice because, if it's a real picture, every person has to be in their specific place. But with Hashem and the Jewish people, it doesn't really matter where you are. So if I'm always holding my tile here and someone else is always holding a tile there, when we finally get together and actually can meet each other and connect that way, the spiritual connection it's new and it's real and it feels awesome. And that's why this Shabbos and the Shabbaton like this is so unique and so incredible. Because the truth is, I think people make this mistake. When they think about connecting to Hashem, they think, well, connecting to Hashem, it's sort of a vertical relationship. I'm down here, Hashem's up there, and so we're connecting like this. Connecting to other Jews, that's horizontal. It's not, maybe there's some relationship, but it's two totally separate things. From Judaism's perspective, that's actually not correct. It's not up and down, up and down and across. I don't do well in that direction, so it takes me wrong. It's not up and down and across. No, exactly. It's actually just one big circle. Connecting to Hashem, connecting to other Jews, that's all part of the same thing. If all you're doing is sitting on a mountaintop somewhere and communing with Hashem by yourself, you're not really getting it. My family and I were in Israel for the Sukkot holiday, and one day we went for this hike, and we were hiking in this sort of mountainside, wherever, outside of in the Judean hills. And as we're hiking, suddenly we come across this door in the middle of the mountain, and it's so out of place. So we asked our tour guide, what is that? He says, oh, there's this group of monks, and they live here in complete solitude, and they commune with God, however they think that makes sense to do that. Complete solitude? They have no connection with the outside world whatsoever. Interesting. My son asks him, where do they get food from? So he says, oh yeah, well, about once a month, if you're here the right day, you'll see them walking with their shopping bags because they just went to the grocery store, in the next town over. But that's a misunderstanding from Judaism's perspective how we're supposed to connect to Hashem. Because you can't do it on your own. This is why, for example, all the prayers are in the plural. Because you can't daven just for yourself. You may have only yourself in mind, but when you're actually praying to Hashem, you need to think about other Jews and how they're doing. It's that connection with other Jews that really enables us to connect to Hashem. And, of course, it also feels good. I think that probably every Jew you've ever met, whether they have any Jewish education, any background whatsoever, inherently understands this idea about the importance of connecting to other Jews. We've heard the concept of bageling, right? I don't know about you. I've never heard of Italians calzoning each other, right? or Mexicans tacoing each other. They don't do that because there's no connection. But Jews just get it. You're sitting in the airport and somebody comes over, starts, I saw, you're wearing a yarmulke, I had my bar mitzvah, because they want to feel this, especially a Jew who's not often connected, they want to feel that connection. See, living in New York, I think it's a little bit of a more difficult situation because you're just around Jews all the time, and sort of you kind of just, unfortunately, you stop to really feel it as much. But when you're disconnected, you really get that opportunity. So actually, it's kind of funny. I found that I often feel that, as Israelis, you feel this connection with Israelis that's just automatic. You get this, you're sitting reading the news or whatever it is, and you read a story about some Israeli who invented some, awesome, cure for cancer or some way to help paraplegics walk again, and it's just like, wow, you feel a sense of pride. Does that really make any sense? Right? Some Sabra in the middle of the Middle East does something, and one of us sitting here in New York or wherever it is that you live feels a sense of pride. Does that really make sense? We have nothing in common whatsoever. Well, except that we do, right? We have this spiritual connection, whether we've met them or not, so it gives us that sense of pride. And for me, this has always really gotten me going. I actually, before I go to bed, I always try to make sure I'm reading something. And when I was reading this awesome book called Startup Nation, people have read it, right? I had to stop reading it. Well, at least I had to stop reading it before I went to bed, because I'd be sitting there yeah, this is awesome. And it's like, my wife's trying to go to sleep. She's like, what are you doing? You got to go to work tomorrow. This is so cool. When I actually go to Israel, by the way, for me, it's like I think at some point some Israelis are going to get a restraining order against me because I'm like walking down the street, high-fiving people, just buying people lunch. It's just this awesome, powerful experience of being with other Jews. Culturally, we have very little in common, but it doesn't matter because as Jews we like to connect to each other, and whether you know it or not, that spiritual connection is real and it feels fantastic. It impacts how you treat people. When you hold someone in very high regard, you kind of let things go. Because it's just, yeah, whatever, it's fine, and I'm not, it doesn't bother me. Look, this person is my mentor, or somebody who I just know is an amazing person. So, okay, little stuff, you let it go. But if you think about it, if we know how awesome every Jew is, and the spiritual connection that we have with each and every one of them, why is it that in our personal relationships, things don't quite go that way? And the relationships with the people who are closest to us, our family, our friends, it just doesn't work out the way it really should. There's this big gap between the theory that we know about how awesome every Jew is and the spiritual connection we have with them and how we should feel about them and how we actually treat them. And figuring out a way to breach that gap can be really, really difficult. When my family and I were in Israel for Sukkot, so we were trying to figure out one day we needed an activity. So, and I don't know if anyone else has this experience when you're with your family, you're trying to find something to do, and it's like, especially towards the end of the trip, and we're not sure what we're going to do, and everyone, this person wants to do this person wants to do this, I don't have any more ideas, I'm not sure. So we'd hired this tour guide, and he said, look, you haven't done really an old city tour yet, so why don't we do that? Oh, and by the way, I happen to be friends with the one guy who has a license to do rappelling off the old city walls. Okay, so when I first heard this from the guy, I'm in that mode of, we need something to do, I can't think about this anymore, fine, oh great, let's do it, done. Okay, no problem. My wife and I and most of my kids, we are not the adventurous types. So we're doing the old city tour, we start the tour, and about an hour or two in, he says, okay, so now we're gonna go meet the guy to go rappelling. Okay, great. We start going up the steps. If you've been, it's inside the old city wall, right by the Jaffa Gate. We start walking up the steps, and then there's some more steps. We start walking across, there's some more steps, walking across, some more steps. Finally, we get to the top, and the rappelling guys are waiting for us. My friend and I kind of looking around like, the wall's much shorter over there. Maybe we there? No, I can only do it in one spot. Obviously, this is the old city of Jerusalem. They don't just let you hook up these types of riggings anywhere. And we're looking at each other like, yeah, no. It sounded like a great idea. It sounded like the kind of thing we'd really enjoy. But we're standing there kind of looking over the wall, 85 feet straight down. And so the tour guide, of course, says, Josh, it's already paid for. So if you don't want to do it, don't do it, but you have to pay for it no matter what. That got me, by the way. I was like, done, we're doing it. So I had to go first, and because no one else was willing to do it. And what happens is, you can, the wall's kind of like, it's high part, then it goes up like the ramparts, and the rampart's probably about as thick as this lectern here. And I climb up. The guy hooks you in, but you don't actually feel the thing holding onto you yet. And I climb up. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. And the guy, the rappelling guy decides now's a good time to start pointing out all the sights that I can see. Dude, I don't want to hear anything about this. Get me over the wall and down, okay? I don't want to see anything. So you have to climb over and you're kind of holding on. Now, of course, it was an awesome experience. But getting over that hump between the theory of what sounded like a great idea and actually doing it, it was, I can't even describe it. It was not easy, but it was awesome. And in our personal relationships, that's the same thing. We know what we're supposed to do. We know the theory. We know how important every Jew is, especially the ones in our family. But actually, the way we treat them, something happens. It kind of breaks things off, and you got to figure out a way to swing yourself around that wall and lower yourself down. So if you want to think about ways to put things into practice, one of the first things I learned when I was a junior associate at my first law firm, I had been given this project, this very complicated research assignment, and I spent probably a week and a half working just nonstop putting together this memo. It was now about 30 pages. And I walked in to sit with the partner who's going to review it, and we're going to give it to the client. And he sits me down and he says, okay, I read your memo. it tells me everything I ever needed to know about this topic. But it gives me absolutely no idea what we're supposed to do. The theory, and even the idea behind the theory, can be easier to figure out. But putting it into practice requires some very concrete steps. And so I'm hoping to accomplish by the time we're done this morning is to discuss a little bit of the theory and then have some very specific steps that everyone can take to get through and actually do something with it. And as a general matter, we've all heard amazing ideas over the course of this Shabbos. But those ideas are not, and as inspired as we feel, it's not going to stick with us, it's not going to last, unless you take steps to actually put it into practice. So a little bit of what we're going to talk about today, this morning, is going to be the specific exercises that we can do to try to work on it and actually make our relationships better. A lot of these ideas I first read about from someone named Yisrael Miller, who was a rabbi in Pittsburgh for a long time, and then he moved to, he now lives in Calgary. So let's start with a basic concept. Something that we pray for 3 times a day and at the end of every Kaddish. And that's the concept of shalom. Now shalom, typically we translate as peace. But it's a little weird to think that we're davening and praying 3 times a day, and again at the end of every Kaddish, for peace when things are going well. Like, you understand, in a time of war, when things are not going well and you need peace, so it's something you're going to daven for a lot. But it's baked into the end of every single silent prayer. We have to ask ourselves why that is. What are we missing? If things are peaceful, and things in Israel obviously at the moment are not so great. But when they are, it seems like a little bit of okay, ask for peace, but it's great. I don't really need it so much. I think that the thing you need to understand is that the way we translate shalom as peace is a little bit misleading. If I asked you to talk about, if I were to tell you that the Israelis and the Palestinians were having peace talks, what does that indicate? Really just a cessation of conflict, that the fighting has stopped. Or if I said to you, you get this a lot, you're fighting with somebody, and especially when you're kids, your mother's like, hold your peace, it'll be fine. Bite your tongue, don't say anything, and that's peace. Well, that's not really peace. Again, that's just an absence of active conflict. And I think that the reason that we do that is because we look at the concept of shalom from already a negative perspective. Because life at times can be difficult, and we can have problems that are weighing us down. And as a result, what happens is, if we can just get the conflict to stop, that's a win. So we think of shalom as being just stopping and ending the conflict. But that, again, misses a little bit of what shalom is. The word shalom comes from the word shalem, complete or whole. Or take it even a step further, harmony, things working together. You imagine if you're working in an office and you can imagine a couple of different possible ways people get along. There could be active conflict where people in the office are fighting. That's obviously not going to go well. You can have a situation where people are not fighting, but they're not really working together. They're kind of doing their own thing. Or they're working together. Teamwork. Active collaboration. Right? There's a lot of research, and it's very big nowadays in law firms in particular, about the idea of people working together, that you'll actually accomplish way more than you would if you're working on your own. That's really what shalom is. Shalom means that we're working together in harmony. Again, not just absence of conflict, but actual wholeness and harmony. And by the way, this is really what Shabbos is all about. But Shabbos is that we take one day a week and we spend the time thinking about the fact that there's billions of creations in the world, billions of people, and so much going on, so much complexity. We stop on Shabbos and we recognize that maybe, but it all has one creator. And that one creator has everything working according to the way that he wants it to work. The world actually works in harmony according to Hashem's plan. We just may not necessarily see it, but that's what's actually happening, and that's what we're doing on Shabbos. Right? Shabbos menucha, Shabbos rest, is not about just taking a nap because you had a long week. It's about spending your time with a certain level of serenity that everything in the world has a purpose, everything in the world has a place, and Hashem has a plan for all of us. Right? How do we greet people on Shabbos? Well, Ashkenaz, we say good Shabbos, but that's not really the right way to do it. The right way to greet someone on Shabbos is Shabbat Shalom, because that's really what Shabbos is. It's about having that wholeness, that serenity, that completeness that comes from everything working according to Hashem's plan. If you want to improve your relationships, what you need is to take this concept of shalom. Again, not the absence of conflict, but harmony. If you have harmony, if you have that completeness, and you put that into your relationships, in theory at least, that's what will start to make things better. Because it not only will reduce the conflict and eliminate the conflict, but actually will create a sense of completeness that you'll have with those people in your life. Now, of course, this is not easy. People are complicated, right? You know what they say, 2 Jews, 3 opinions? Frankly, even the same person, under different circumstances, will have a different reaction to the same event. In the 1950s, these 2 partners, Lenny and Maury, and they had a wholesale clothing business. The problem was that they weren't really great in terms of predicting fashion trends. So they invested all of their money into these like Madras sport coats for men, which I guess now those are actually in style, I think. But at the time, they were not a big hit. And they were sitting on 10,000 of these sport coats. And they were facing financial ruin. One day, a guy walks into their store from Australia and tells them that he's looking, he's been everywhere, and he's desperate to find Madras sport coats. They're very hot in Australia. Lenny and Maury are looking at each other like, this is the greatest news ever. So they tell him, yeah, maybe we have a couple left. They negotiate, and the guy says, okay, I'll take all 10,000. So here's the thing. I have to travel back to Australia. It's obviously going to take some time, and this was the 1950s. And I need a month. And if you haven't gotten a telegram from me by the end of the month telling you that I'm canceling the order, then we're good. I got to go back to the home office, talk to the boss, and make sure that we're good to go. But otherwise, we have a deal. So the entire month, as you can imagine, Lenny and Maury are kind of, as they say in Yiddish, sitting on spilkas. Right? They're walking on eggshells. They're not sure what's going to be. They're basically not sure. They're either going to be financially ruined or they're going to hit a home run. The last day of the month, as they're waiting in the store, getting about ready to close up, going to drink that l'chaim, congratulating themselves on their success. Door opens, guy walks in with a telegram. And Lenny and Maury look at each other and are just... Lenny goes over, takes the telegram, opens it up, reads it. Maury, great news! My sister died. Right, under different circumstances, that's a tragedy. Under these circumstances, it was, obviously not so great, but... So dealing with people can be crazy difficult because of the fact that you just never know how they're going to react to anything. You don't know what the circumstances are going to be. So figuring out the right way to approach relationships, again, easy in theory, difficult in execution. So how are we supposed to do it? So I think step number 1 is recognizing within ourselves how we feel about things. every one of us is acutely aware of our own pain. When I'm having a bad day, I know it. And I may not necessarily show it to people, that it's obvious to others, but I know what's going on in my head. And I know that if I snap at somebody, I'm having a bad day. It's not me. And he or she is going to have to cut me some slack because I know what I'm going through. The problem, of course, being that we're so often focused on how we're feeling that it doesn't necessarily occur to us to think about how somebody else is feeling. Because I'm just focused on myself. And whether we realize it or not, we can end up being somewhat judgmental about how we think somebody else should be feeling. Because from the outside, I see what their life is like. And so I know what to expect, and I know what I expect from him. So when he or she snaps at me, there's no excuse for it. We just don't really appreciate what's going on in somebody else's life. I have a very close friend who's a psychologist, and his actual real specialty is dealing with youth at risk. And so I was talking to him one time, and I asked him, what's the most difficult situation you have to deal with in terms of helping somebody work through their problems? And he said something that just frankly shocked me. He didn't even hesitate. He said, oh, it's easy. The most difficult patients or clients I've ever seen are children of multi-generational wealth. Trust fund kids. Really? I'm happy to be one of those. What's the problem? He said, because for them, everything's handed to them on a silver platter. Getting a sense or feeling of accomplishment is very difficult. And helping them work through that where they can feel like they're actually doing something is not easy. But again, to those of us on the outside, you look at the trust fund kid, you're like, and if you're a trust fund kid, call me afterwards. We don't realize how difficult it is for them because we're so focused on ourselves. So step one, right, exercise number one, is taking a moment every day to just be conscious of the fact that every single person that you encounter over the course of your day is going through some pain, is going through some difficulty. There are very few people you're going to meet who have it so together that they just don't have any issues. All of us are working through something. And it's important as you start this process to recognize that everyone has those issues. Step two is recognizing that you absolutely can do something about it. We talked a little bit earlier about the incredible power of every single Jew. Right? That's not just everybody else. That's us. Every one of us has that incredible power, especially to connect to and create relationships with and help other Jews hold up their tile. Every one of us can do it. It doesn't matter religious, not religious, spiritual, not spiritual. It doesn't matter if you were a crazy jerk yesterday. Starting now, going forward, you have that ability to help another Jew feel better and help them hold their tile. By the end of this, by the time I'm done this morning, we'll be chanting, hold your tile. Okay, so again, that's the theory. The question is how. All right, so here's our first exercise for this morning. You need to imagine yourself, you are now, congratulations to every one of you, you are now a Hasidic Rebbe. I know it's a little hard to believe, you don't feel worthy. You know what? What can you do? You've been chosen. Throughout history, there have been Rebbes who were chosen, didn't quite expect it to be. But it's been thrust upon you. Can't say no. You're in. Take a list or make a list of all your friends, people you know and come across on a daily basis, and spend a minute thinking about what kind of pain maybe you know what they're going through, maybe you don't, but think a little bit about what issues they may be facing and how you can just at first level sympathize and empathize with them. Now, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, by the way, if they don't know that you're a Rebbe. That's okay. You can be in secret, but even not in secret. You can have a chassid who's a year old. He doesn't know who his Rebbe is, but the Rebbe is responsible for him nonetheless. So you now have responsibility for every one of your friends. Now, as a Rebbe, you can't necessarily solve their actual underlying problem, but your job is to at least make them feel better, and at least give them the support and the comfort to deal with the day that they're going through. And by the way, isn't this like an awesome way to view the world? Suddenly you're looking at all of your friends, not as like a pity party for people, but more of I know somebody else is going through some pain, and I can do something to help them feel better. You'll find once you start doing this, you view the world completely differently. Because you just view it as your job almost to try to put a smile on everyone's face. I find this when I'm running. So when I run, I imagine a lot of people do, I get a little bit of an intense face. It's kind of running, and I'm hoping that it's going to end soon before I pass out. But as I'm running down the street and someone's walking towards me, when I just all of a sudden say, "Hi, good morning, have a great day," the smiles I get it feels fantastic. Now, part of it may be because they're just expecting that I'm going to, just run right past them, maybe say something, get out of the way. But when you have this opportunity to put a smile on somebody's face, it's just a fantastic, fantastic feeling for yourself. Okay, so again, let's get a little more practical. So what are we supposed to do? Step one, in this part of the exercise, say hello with a smile. That's it. That's the beginning. Say hello with a smile and mean it. Hi, how are you? Nice to see you. It doesn't, you're not imparting any interesting information. No great things are happening because of the fact that you exchange a couple of kind words. But you made somebody feel better. You made somebody feel like they care. Right? How do we say hello in Hebrew? Shalom. Right? Because when you're saying hello to somebody, it's not just a greeting. It's a concept. Right? It's an idea. There's harmony here. And the two of us, whether we know each other or not, are exchanging that smile and making each other feel good. We're creating that harmony, that togetherness, just by saying hello. The thing is, sometimes when we do this, and we do it a lot, especially if you're in a convention like this, what ends up happening is that you kind of rush through it. Hi, how are you? Great. And that really doesn't work in terms of what the exercise is supposed to be. It has to be thought out and intentional. And the way to realize that is to recognize that when you're saying hello to somebody and you're asking them how they are, and especially when you're wishing them have a good day, that's not just a way of saying hello. You're actually giving them a blessing. This gets back to what we talked about in terms of the completeness between the relationship amongst Jews and how we relate to Hashem. I'm not just saying hello, I'm wishing you something. I'm giving you a blessing. Have a great day. I want you to have a great day. No, really. I want you to have a great day. So that's why I'm saying it. The story is told about Rav Baruch Ber Leibowitz, who's a head of a yeshiva in Europe, that when he saw another Jew walking on the street, especially if the Jew was too far away from them to actually talk to each other, he would wish that Jew a blessing. He would say in Yiddish, brachas auf dein Kopf, blessings on your head. Even though the Jew had no idea that Rabbi Leibowitz was saying this, it didn't matter. Because he saw another Jew, because I can't actually talk to him, I'm not going to wish him a good day? Why? I want him to have a good day, so I'm going to do it anyways. And see, what starts to happen when you start doing this and really working on this exercise, you start to feel for yourself this sense of harmony and completeness, what Yisrael Miller calls a shalom personality. Because you recognize that there's other people in the world and you can have an impact on them. You can connect to them. You can help them hold their tile. And that's really, again, an empowering feeling. Because you're not just living your life and trying to get through it, you're having an impact on other people. Okay, so when you've worked up your shalom muscles a little bit, it's time to move on to exercise 2. Your Rebbe days are over. They were short. I hope you enjoyed them. Step number 2, exercise number 2, I should say, is that you're going to be a teacher. But not just any teacher. You're a teacher for gifted but troubled students. Like imagine you're working at some school for the gifted, teaching them whatever it is, or whatever subject you feel comfortable teaching. But the kids you're teaching, they're troublemakers, right? They don't really fit in a lot of other places, and they can have a hard time behaving the right way. So what are you going to do? How do you make the class work and have them actually learn stuff? Well, I can tell you one thing you will not do. You're not going to overwhelm them with your brilliance and your incredible lessons on whatever subject it is that you're teaching. These kids are probably way smarter than you are. What you're going to do, if you want to reach them, is you need to be calm. You need to be relaxed, and you need to give them a sense that you care. So I had a friend who ran the Chabad house in Harvard. And when he first got started at it, somebody asked him, there had been another outreach organization that was on campus, and it really wasn't successful, and they ended up closing that and moving on. But the Chabad house was being very, very successful. So somebody asked him, what did you do differently than that other guy did? So he said, I recognized early on that I never would have gotten into Harvard. So I'm not as smart as any of these kids are. I'm never going to wow them with brilliant expositions on proving the existence of God and the truth of the Torah. That's not going to work, right? But what I can do is I can invite them over for Shabbat dinner, to come by during the week and grab something to eat, and just show them that I'm here for them and I care. And they related to that in an incredible way, because he was always just showing he cared, but most importantly, he was calm and he was relaxed. And he didn't worry about people weren't coming, were they being disrespectful. It's okay. I'm just going to stay relaxed. Now, of course, this is not an easy thing to do. So the question is, let's talk practical exercises you can do to make it that you can exude this calmness, and together with exercise 1 of wishing people shalom, that you can actually give that off so the people you're dealing with, who can be difficult and who annoy you, but you can actually relate to them and deal with them. Because again, you're not going to be able to work with or deal with a difficult person by being more difficult than he is. Right? If you're just going to basically respond to his difficulties with your own, and his being not nice with your own, that's a guaranteed recipe for disaster. So here's an exercise we can all do. Anyone drive here in New York? I was driving here on Friday, and of course I followed Waze, because that's what, Israelis, woo! And at some point it sent me on the lower level of the GWB, which somebody decided at 1 o'clock on a Friday was a good idea to shut it down so they could do some construction. So literally we're sitting there, not moving. About a minute in, it starts. The horns. Everyone's doing this. When I grew up in the Midwest in Chicago, so they taught us how to drive in Chicago 10 and 2, right? I always joke with my wife, in New York, they teach you how to drive 12 and middle, right? Is there anything more stressful than driving in the tri-state area? For sure not. Maybe. There's actually, I read an interesting paper by the psychologist who's some professor of anger management at the University of Wisconsin, Green Bay. I forget all of them. There's 4 reasons why driving is particularly well suited for making people crazy. Even the most calm, nicest guys and women that get behind the wheel of a car and something happens. I have a very close friend who is literally the nicest guy I've ever met. Everyone loves him. Put him behind the wheel of a car, and he turns into some combination of like Mario Andretti, Evel Knievel, and the Tasmanian Devil. When I drive with him, I'm sitting next to him, I'm white knuckles the whole way. It's terrifying. And the thing, it's sort of a combination of you're trying to get somewhere. You're not just driving usually for the fun of driving. You're trying to get somewhere, and there's things that are stopping you from going, and so that adds a level of stress. And driving itself is inherently can be dangerous if you're not careful. And all the people around you are generally anonymous, so nobody feels any compunctions with basically cutting people off or just being generally nasty. So that lends itself to driving, making people crazy. So here's the exercise. Next time you get in your car, maybe when you're leaving here today, before you start driving, take a deep breath. Tell yourself, okay, I'm going home now. Waze says whatever time it's going to be for me to get home. Add 20 minutes, then add another 20. And I'll get there when I get there. And I'm going to just not going to let it upset me. Not going to let it bother me. I'm just going to drive. If you make it home, especially if you hit some traffic, and you stay relaxed, I can pretty much guarantee you, A, you're going to feel awesome, and B, you've just had a massive workout. You have worked out your shalom muscles in a way that is just incredibly empowering. And it gets easier, right? The more you do it, this exercise will actually enable you to drive like a normal human being. And then what happens is that starts to creep into how you deal with other people. The people who are making you crazy and the people who are giving you a hard time because they're just difficult people because of whatever pain that they're going through makes it a little bit easier to deal with them because I'm just going to be calm. People start getting upset. Okay. And I don't know you. I have a number of friends who I look at as being like the model and of this calmness. And some people happen to have, as a natural tendency, they're relaxed and things don't work them up. That's not me. But we can do it. Right? We can actually work on our shalom muscles till we start to get relaxed. And so when people are bothering us, it doesn't really bother us. Sure.
So how do you stay calm when you say, okay, I'm telling myself to stay calm, but is it like breathing? What are some physical things that we can do to actually
So
stay calm?
I'll come back to a little bit at the end. I mean, essentially, it's a combination of breathing helps. I find myself that breathing is not my thing. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, I like breathing, but a lot of it is mindset. And that means being conscious of it. That's really what it starts with. And as an exercise, and we talked a little bit about being conscious of the fact that other people are going through pain. The way to do this is find a time every day, whether it's in the morning, whatever time works for you, and say to yourself, okay, I know the things I'm going to go through today are going to be difficult, and I'm going to deal with people who are difficult. And I'm going to, I had the expectation that it's coming. I spoke a little bit yesterday about managing our expectations, and that's a lot of what this is. If you know you're going to deal with somebody who's more difficult and you're prepared for it, it is easier. So you need to start in the morning. This is what I find the best time to do it because you're about to start your day, where you're just taking a moment and reminding yourself that you need to spend time and have this mindset of dealing with difficult people requires me being calm and relaxed. Another great tool is the reminder on your phone. We set random reminders to go out throughout, once or twice a day, be calm. This is the kind of thing that I find you're starting into a rhythm with it where it actually starts to have an impact on you. And I was talking a little bit earlier that you have to be conscious of a lot of the things you're going to be doing and not just take the ideas, but actually say, okay, I'm now going to remind myself, I'm going to review it, I'm going to think about it. And when you start doing that, it starts to have that impact where you're really feeling it, and it enables you to deal with the difficult people because of the fact that, okay, I'm remembering to be calm. You know, there's a story I read about a guy who said to his grandfather that he went to the doctor when he was, you know, as he was getting older, and he had high blood pressure. And the doctor said to him, if your blood pressure doesn't get under control, I mean, you're gonna have a problem. And the issue for him was particularly his temper. And the doctor said to him, I'm gonna make this more clear for you. If you keep losing your temper, you're going to have a heart attack and die. And so what did the guy do? Nothing bothered him ever again. Because literally for him it was a matter of life and death. And he was able to just, you know, turn that switch and say, if I don't calm down, I'm not going to make it through. We have the ability to do that. It just takes the right impetus and the right thoughtfulness to make sure that you're keeping it in mind. Now, by the way, just to be a little clearer, this does not require being a doormat for people who are not treating you well. It doesn't mean that you have to let people just push you around. But your reactions to it can be very, very different. So when we were in Israel for Sukkot, we rented an apartment, and one night before the holiday, my wife and I went to the grocery store to pick up a few things. And as you if you've ever had the merit of being in Israel for a major holiday, you can imagine what the grocery store is like. Because the entire city of Jerusalem is buying groceries for the next couple of days. And so we're waiting online, and we're unloading our stuff. And all of a sudden, there's a few people behind me in line, and all of a sudden, I see like a little commotion a couple lanes over. And this guy walks over and says to me, okay, I need to put my stuff and go ahead of you. Why? Because I was checking out, and in the middle of checking out, the computer malfunctioned. And so now I have to start all over again, so I got to come over here. So people behind me are kind of like, you know, because Israelis, you know, culturally, again, they be a little more in your face. And I just said, okay, I said, well, sorry, no. Yeah, I know. Sorry, I've already started unloading my stuff. There's people behind me. You're going to have. Sorry, you have to wait. Now, I could have reacted with, "What are you, crazy? Get out of here!" And then spend the next 20 minutes telling my wife, "I can't believe that guy's chutzpah. Can you imagine? He's trying to jump all these people in line." And I guess I could have let it go ahead of me, but I wasn't doing that either. See, you can assert yourself. You can tell people, no, I'm sorry, this is not going to work. But you don't have to let yourself get upset by it. You don't have to let it turn into something where this guy's problems is starting to really give you a difficulty that you're getting upset over. He walked away. He went somewhere else. I don't know where he went. I just told him no. Okay, so we've done, yeah.
I think what you're explaining really is, and we encounter this when we confront people that we either dislike or have an issue with in conflict, is changing your reaction. Like
Right.
you said, you could have reacted the other way, but you thought about it and you chose to react in more calm, considerate way that changed his dynamic. He didn't get upset, he just went to another line.
Right, exactly right. So imagine now, okay, so we've done a couple of exercises, right? We've been a Hasidic Rebbe for a little bit. That was fun. We've been a teacher of difficult students. Now it's time to really up our game and deal with the people who are just so miserable, so unhappy that they feel the need to spread it around. The people who are just, they're jerks. And they're really, unfortunately, people we have to come across and deal with all the time. So I work in a big law firm. And as you might imagine, big law firms are full of a lot of difficult people. Actually, when I was a young associate, so I was working on this one deal, and I do corporate bankruptcy, so there's a fair amount of going to bankruptcy court. So we had a very big, important hearing. We had a whole team of people, and everyone's running around in the morning. Hearing starts at 10 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. We're in the office. We've been there all night. Everyone's running around, gathering up boxes and papers, and we're getting ready to go to court, and there's probably 6 of us. And one of the paralegals has like 3 or 4 boxes stacked up, and he put them on one of these hand trucks. And he takes a bungee cord, and he's wrapping it around the bottom to hold the boxes in, and he doesn't latch it in all the way, and it snaps back up, hits him right in the eye. He goes down. And he's basically, if you can imagine, like lying on the floor in front of the doorway of the senior associate's office. And we're all just like, we're sort of not sure what to do. As this happens, the partner who's running this deal comes walking down the hallway, and he comes walking in, steps over him. Are we ready to leave yet? And so the senior associate was the only guy who had any guts to say anything to his partner, and he says, Paul, what do you do? The guy, Paul, I stepped over him. What's the problem? We deal with people like this all the time, and they can make our lives very, very difficult, if not downright miserable. So people like this, being a Rebbe is not really going to help. Being a teacher is not really going to help. For people like this, you need to up your game, and you need to imagine that you're a therapist. See, in therapy, there's this concept of transference. When you're sitting with a client, with a patient, and they're working out whatever issues they have, there's a tendency for the patient to start viewing the therapist as the person that gave them the issues in the first place. If you have problems with your father, you start treating the therapist like he is your father, and you start taking it out on him. And therapists are trained not to take this personally, because they know that it's not them, it's somebody else. These two therapists one time, I have a therapist joke, these two therapists one time are leaving the office. One of them has been practicing for like 30 years, and one of them has only been doing it for a few. And they're walking out, and the younger one has his tie undone, his jacket off, he looks like he just ran the marathon. The older one looks like he just got to work in the morning. And the younger one says to the older one, I don't understand. We're both sitting in the office listening to clients all day. I feel like I just got hit by a truck. You look like you could go another 12 hours. How do you do it? So the other one looks at him and says, that's easy. Who listens? When you know that the person has an issue, it's not you, you can, with again, a little bit of thoughtfulness, you can not let it bother you. The key to dealing with the really difficult people in your life is recognizing that they woke up in the morning angry, and they spent all their time looking for somebody to direct their anger at. And then you don't feel like, it's not me. If you're walking down the streets in Manhattan, let's say, and you come across an unfortunate somebody who's homeless and mentally ill, and they start yelling at you and calling you names, it really doesn't bother you that much. Like, I care what this guy says. When you're dealing with somebody who's a difficult person, who's going to be giving you difficulties, not because you're you, but because you happen to be the person in front of them at the moment, okay. Now again, I'm not saying this is easy, but it takes a little bit of the recognition that this is what you're dealing with. And if you're thoughtful about it in advance, and you're prepared for it, right? If you're dealing with a 1-year-old who has a diaper rash, and he or she is screaming and yelling, you don't get mad at them. They have pain, a lot of pain. I do what I can. Maybe I hand the kid off to their parent after a while. But I do what I can. When you're dealing with somebody who's going through so much pain, okay, it's not me. I'm not going to let it get to me because he's having difficulties. Now what happens is, I think, take all this stuff together, right? The idea of having a shalom personality, of giving other people a sense of shalom, of recognizing that I can keep myself calm, I can not let other things get in to bother me that I hear from other people. And I think if you roll all that together, you really start to realize that the key to dealing with other people is being comfortable yourself. You're not going to change somebody else. It's just not going to work. I think what happens often is that we try so hard, think we're going to change other people, that we get so frustrated by it, instead of recognizing that we just need to be relaxed about it. I use this example a lot. I love playing golf. I'm terrible, but I love playing it anyways. And one of the first things you learn when you're learning how to swing a golf club is that people have this tendency, I don't know anyone plays golf in the room. I know Michael does, plays a lot. When you play golf, if you swing the golf club as hard as you can, what happens is you clench up and your arms tighten, you get like this. And what ends up happening is you just sort of miss the ball completely or just sort of hit it a little bit. If you relax and keep your arms down to sort of flow through, that's when you start hitting the ball far. In life, we spend so much time when we're dealing with other people in our relationships, we're so tense because we so want to make it better and so change them. I'm fine, right? The problem's not me, the problem's you. So I'm just going to tense up as much as I can and swing as hard as I can to try to make things better. And we're going to whiff every time. If we're not relaxed ourselves, if we don't realize that I'm not going to change them, I can change me, I can make myself relaxed, when that's the key that we hit on, suddenly dealing with other people becomes a whole different ballgame. Because now okay, they have their difficulties, they have their problems, and I can help them and try to make them feel better and do what I can to help them hold their tile. But if it doesn't work, okay, I'm not going to let it upset me. I'm not going to let them bring me down. And the key to all of this is making sure that you think about it. Spend some time every morning, 2 minutes, and just think about the fact, okay, today's a day. I'm going to be dealing with somebody that's difficult. I know it. And what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to stay calm, and I'm going to be relaxed. And every difficulty that comes my way, especially the smaller ones, I'm not just going to look at it as, okay, I got to deal with this. I'm going to look at it as, hey, I get to deal with this. And this is an opportunity. It's a workout. And I'm going to get through it. When I'm done, I'm going to be a little bit stronger. And the next time I deal with something that's a little bit more difficult, I'm going to get through that too. And sometimes I'm going to mess up. And I'm going to try, and someone's going to make me upset. And when that's over, I'm going to say, okay, I tried, didn't work, no problem. Let's do it again. I know we're starting the other session, so I don't wrap up, but thank everyone for coming. Remember, it's all about thoughtfulness and thinking about it. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.